Alexa von Tobel is the New York Times best-selling author of Financially Fearless and the founder and CEO of LearnBest.com. A certified financial planner who attended Harvard College and Harvard Business School, Alexa launched LearnBest in 2009 with the goal of spreading financial literacy and advice throughout the country. As of today, LearnBest is the country's fastest growing financial planning company. Alexa is also a columnist for Cosmopolitan and Inc. magazine, and has been featured as a financial expert and entrepreneur in periodicals such as the Wall Street Journal and New York Times, and television shows such as Good Morning America and The Today Show. Marie Claire called her one of 18 women changing the world, and Fortune magazine named her one of the world's most powerful women entrepreneurs. And she's here with us today to share her message. Please join me in welcoming Alexa von Tobel.
Hi, everybody. So much fun to be here. Can everybody hear me okay in class? Thank you for the great introduction. I'm Alexa von Tobel. What I'm about to talk to you about, I am so deeply passionate about, and I truly get out of bed every single day because I think that we can change the country. Most importantly, everything we're about to talk to you about, I actually started because I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I went to Harvard College. I worked in the happiness lab. That was a thing. And when I was there, I wanted to just better understand my own finances, but there were no classes to take. There was nothing that I could really do. And I ended up trying to just simply on my own learn more about personal finance. And I was like, why is this so difficult? This topic's everywhere. Even more importantly, when I was younger, when I was 14 years old, it's the first chapter of the book, I had 2 older brothers, and unexpectedly my dad had passed away, and my mom, who had always been really involved in our finances, she knew the budget, etc., for the first time in her life, she had to scramble to figure out what she was supposed to do with finances. And it really stuck with me as something that I feel like every single person in the country should know about. You should always be able to take control of your own financial life, because life happens sometimes and you need to be able to be in the driver's seat. So, I built LearnBest, which is now, as we said, one of the fastest growing companies here in the country. It's been very exciting for me. But our mission is really simple. We want to help empower people with their finances. Right now, 98.6% of the country doesn't get access to financial advice, because if you don't have millions of dollars, lots of people aren't excited to talk to you when it comes to your money. But mathematically, when you have little money, it's actually more important to get access to financial advice, because every extra dollar you have has to go in the exact right spot. So our whole company is all about helping empower people to make affordable and accessible financial advice. Since I left Harvard Business School, the last 5 years of my life becoming a certified financial planner, becoming an expert to go and talk to the masses, but also we developed a program that can take any household, whether you make $50,000 right out of school, or if you make $500,000 and help empower you financially. As part of it, I have talked to well over 25,000 people individually about their money, and out of it came what I'm going to tell you about. So, most importantly, for everyone in this room, not just for you, but also for all of the students, right now 61% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. And that includes 30% of people who make over $100,000. So, one of the things, and I take the time to say this because this will resonate with everyone in this room, and I've given this talk about 1,000 times, but it will also really resonate with all of the students that you guys often influence. So, why I take the time to say that is think about the time in your life where you would pay a bill and you were struggling to figure it out. That's how most of the country lives. And if you think about making $100,000, I know growing up in Florida, $100,000 seems like a fortune, and it is a fortune. But having more money doesn't necessarily mean that you know what to do with it. So people who make over $100,000 can still live paycheck to paycheck because they make poor decisions. Right now, money is the #1 thing that young people worry about. Additionally, it's the #1 thing that everyone in this country worries about. It's the reason for divorce, unfortunately. I just got married this year, so I hope it won't be the reason for my divorce. And right now, most people feel pretty out of control when it comes to their finances. So go back to my own story. I had great education. I would argue, one of the best educations that money could buy. and I just personally wanted to learn about my finances so I could protect myself in the future. I have no idea of where to go. You can't necessarily turn to your parents because they weren't formally educated on this topic. There's not an easy place to go. There's content all over the place. The rules are changing every year. And at the end of the day, money is this thing that actually really matters, unfortunately. I wish it weren't true, but it is. It's our lifeline. And I won't even make people raise their hands, but if you're in love, you're going to want to do everything to empower that person, to see them, to travel the globe, to see and take care of them. When you have children, you want to give them a better life than your parents were able to give you. And if you're sick, all are going to want the best doctors, and money can absolutely buy. And as a result, money is a pretty critical lifeline that we can't avoid. So when you think about it, it's kind of a big bummer that it's so stressful for people because it's always there and it doesn't go away. So right now, 84% of college students are saying, I really wish I could better understand this topic. And unfortunately, it's still not taught in high schools, colleges, grad schools across the country. I've actually been going on speaking tours, going to some of the colleges. I helped the University of Maryland. I worked with their staff to help create one of their first curriculums around money, and it was rated the best class. And one thing that's shocking is we learn about so much stuff that's really important, but I argue, and one of the things I've been known for saying is, I think financial planning should be a civil right because it actually affects your life so much that just like healthcare, you really should be able to have access to just basic financial knowledge. Right now, everyone in this room, we make about 6 to 10 money decisions every day, from how you're getting to work in the morning to what you're doing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to thinking about bigger decisions like the 401k plan or that vacation that we all want to take to a beautiful island in the Caribbean. And often, they're pretty uninformed. We make them sort of ad hoc. We navigate our financial lives through trial and error, and that's how most people make their decisions. So, what I wanted to do, especially given this audience, is I wanted to walk through the average college senior. So meet Sam. Sam is 22. Mathematically, everything I'm going to show you represents the national average of someone leaving the education system here in the United States. There's 1.8 million of them. Sam is 22, and when he graduates, he'll have $26,000 in student debt, if he's lucky, and $4,000 in credit card debt. And we all know that day in freshman year where you're getting pizza and signing in, and every credit card company trying to get you to take out credit cards without any education on what those credit cards really do and how badly you can hurt your credit score. I actually, as part of my book tour, was in Washington to try to help them change that law. But the average college senior will graduate with $26,000 in student debt, $4,000 in credit card debt, and if they are lucky, and I repeat, lucky, you will end up with a job at a school making about $40,000. So, if you really think about it, Sam will owe more money than he actually will make right out of school. And that's the start. Sam's going to make 5 decisions, and these 5 decisions are simple things. Things I would argue, and after giving this talk so many times, everyone in this room can learn from some of this advice as well. And I will say, I've talked to audiences of PhDs all the way to community colleges, and the knowledge level on money tends to be the same. So here's 5 basic things that if Sam could do better, he could end up in a much different situation. The first thing is he's not going to have a budget because he doesn't know what a budget is. And also, importantly, he doesn't have any money. So he's like, what's my budget? I have nothing to budget. And right out of school, instead of doing, which is the backbone of my whole book, the 50-20-30 rule, which is a brilliant, simple principle that changed my life, he's going to spend sort of nilly-willy on whatever comes and goes. And here's the backbone of this 50-20-30 rule, that 50% of what you take home should go to your essentials. The roof over your head, your groceries, your transportation to and from your job, and it's your utility bill, because that's what's critical to really live. The roof over your head, you've got to be able to eat, you need heat and water, and you need to be able to get to and from that job that pays you your paycheck. 20% to go to the future. That's saving for the retirement, emergency savings, and 30% is the fun stuff. That's the shopping, the eating out, the drinks out, etc. But Sam's going to do one thing. He's going to come out, and instead of his rent being approximately 30% of what his take-home pay is, it's often 50%. And mathematically, that is one simple decision that as a CFP, we can look at a client and we can know that financially they're going to be in trouble a decade later. So Sam's not going to have a budget because we don't know what our means are. None of us have ever formally learned what does it really mean to be able to afford something. And we're not going to have a sense of this budget, and ultimately, he's not going to be set up properly. Number two, that credit card debt, that $4,000 of credit card debt, well, in Sam's mind, that's normal. Everyone has credit card debt, it's totally fine. And in fact, he is right. The average household right now in America has $9,000 of credit card debt, and the average family has $16,000. So Sam's not going to try to pay down that debt right out of school because he doesn't think it's that important, and also he hasn't been told that it is critical. As a result, his credit score, which is the only grade that matters when you leave the education system, and it matters a lot. Instead of being 800, it's going to be closer to 600. Step three, he's not going to have an emergency savings account. And when life gives you an emergency, which unfortunately we all know it will happen, my first day of Harvard Business School, they asked us all to stand up, and then they said, no one sit down. They said, you will all be fired at one point in your life. And I said, well, welcome to business school, I guess. And as a result, life does happen. Someone could get sick. Someone could get in a car accident. You could lose your job tomorrow. It's going to happen to all of us. But he's not going to have an emergency savings account truly there, not for shopping, not for a wedding, not to a trip, but really there for an emergency to be able to protect him and his future household. Step three, he's not going to negotiate his salary. Because young people these days are just so grateful to even have a job that they're going to not be in a position to know that they need to prepare for the reviews to make sure that they increase their salary at least on pace with inflation, which is 3% a year. Otherwise, they actually have less money. Right now, actually, most people in the country are negotiating their salaries. And finally, 5, Sam's going to think that retirement is a topic for the future. It's a topic for his 40s, as opposed to knowing that actually retirement is a topic for your 20s, because if you start early, compounding interest isn't magic, it's math, and it does all of the hard work for you. I actually was such a dork in school that I found this personal finance talk to go listen to, and I saw this graph, and it was so simple, but it shows 2 individuals, one who starts saving for retirement in their 20s when they don't have a lot of responsibilities, and another who starts in their 40s. Kate and Jessica actually put the exact same dollar amount in retirement. But Jessica, because she started 20 years earlier, ends up with more than 2+ times in retirement. And I always said, what if you can make this graph go viral for people right out of school? So, when you think about your financial life, we sort of all intuitively think, well, I'm going to make more money over time, and I'm going to be able to control my expenses to stay in line with that. And one of the things that we don't realize, our actual financial life is a bit of a zigzag. You go in your 20s where you don't have a lot of responsibilities, you do have some debt, but you're in a position where you can actually budget properly, save more money, pay down that debt so it doesn't grow out of control. And then you go into the next period, which is called days, dual income, no kids. That is a phenomenal period of life. All of a sudden, you have 2 incomes, you're cutting your expenses in half. That's when everyone upgrades their home, buys a BMW, decides that we're going on the fancier vacations to Tahiti. And then you end up going to this period where you have children and get a mortgage. And kids eat money, actually. And it gets very stressful. And so basic financial planning, I'm not even talking the complex stuff, I'm talking the basics. It simply help you understand that when you feel really wealthy in your late 20s, early 30s as you're getting engaged and married, don't go buy cars. Save that money so that you can bear, there's summer and there's winter, and you want to be able to make sure that it always feels like spring financially. And ultimately, let's fast forward. 15 years later, mathematically, this is what Sam looks like. His credit card debt has grown to $20,000, and the national average on credit card debt today is about 20%. The best savings account in the country is 1%. Next, his student debt, almost 2 decades later, is going to be less, but not significantly. It's still going to be a topic for his every month budget. His credit score will have taken a real hit, and it's because of the debt, it's because of a few missed payments, something as simple as just never miss a payment. Sam didn't know. Finally, he has less than $10,000 in his IRA because he's navigating all of this debt, and it has grown so rapidly. He has no 529 plans for his 2 beautiful children, because however, he can barely service all of the other things that are happening. And because his credit score took a hit, he's really not in a position of home ownership. As of this morning, they're seeing rentals up 10x where they were a decade ago because people can't afford to get a mortgage. And finally, he'll be in a position where his children are going to be worse off than Sam because it dominoes down across the generations. So you think about this, and what bums me out about this picture is none of this had to happen. So what if we could rewind? What if I was here to tell you that there was an awesome happy ending to this entire story? What if we could take Sam and teach him those 5 basic principles? Because when it comes to your finances, not making a mistake is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. But you have to know what those mistakes are. And with those 5 simple pieces of information, in Sam's 20s, he could have budgeted better. He could have tackled that debt before it spiraled into $20,000. He could have tackled his student loans properly, been in a position to consolidate them to understand that student debt is good debt actually. It is not something that you necessarily need to pay off. The credit card debt's the bad stuff. He could know the 3 basic things about a credit score, which are don't close your loose credit card, don't miss a bill, don't carry credit card debt. Boom, your score is going to be above 760, and you'll be in a position that over your lifetime you could save over $100,000 simply by keeping that score intact. He would have healthy retirement savings because he would have started early, contributing to his 401k at work, which I can't even tell you guys how many brilliant people still don't really understand what a 401k is versus an IRA. But he would have understood that, hey, you get free money at work, go take advantage of it. It's 100% return, it's guaranteed. And most importantly, he and his wife would be in a position that they have a home for their children, and they can set a 529 for him so they can pay it forward to the next generation. What gets me excited, majorly, and why I get out of bed every single day, and I've been running across the country on this book tour, and we're psyched to be a New York Times bestseller, because at the heart of everything that I'm talking about is, we're not up here trying to cure cancer, which we don't know the answer to. This is math. These are basic rules that affect every single human in the country for every day as we get out of bed. And we are in a position where we can take the 1.8 million students, we can put them in a position so that they make smart financial decisions. Because everyone wants to be in a position where they can empower themselves and their families. You can teach them those principles, and we can pay it forward massively across the country, not only changing their lives and the domino effect of their children's lives. We also could be in a position where we can help the $1 trillion of student debt that's looming over this country. The threat of home ownership, which is the American dream at its core, could be a reality. And we can empower people so that when life happens, money isn't the biggest cause of divorce. It isn't the thing that keeps us up at night. It isn't the thing that keeps us worrying so much because we're constantly juggling and navigating it on our own without basic education and principles. So this is why I get out of bed every single day. It's why I wrote the book, Financially Fearless, because we needed a simple manual that could empower anyone, from someone who is in their early 20s just getting started to someone in their 60s. And it's why we're going on this crazy book tour, and I'm really, really grateful to be here. So please come talk to me if you have any questions. We've already gone to a bunch of college campuses, and we've been in a position where we've started writing curriculums for a few schools because LearnVest has created so much incredible content. We're partnering with the government, and I would be very, very excited and proud to talk to any of you guys about your schools because I think we can make a huge difference in student life. Thank you.
So we have time for 2 questions. So please turn the lights back down. Turn the lights back down. We have time for 2 questions. So we'll find the mic. I just want to add that Alexa flew in today and is flying out back to New York in about 2 hours.
I'm on my book tour, literally doing 20 cities in 30 days across the country. This was a picture of me, I think, 2 days ago in Boston, talking to a group of high school juniors and seniors. What's amazing about this content is that it really, it's almost ageless. It affects people that are just getting started before their first summer jobs, all the way to people in their 60s before they go into retirement. And being a young person myself, we've been able to make a really big impact. And it's crazy with the number of organizations that have asked me to come speak at their schools, whether it's student-led organizations and the like, because people really want this. It's a really big topic that stresses people out. So I can barely see you. Please ask your question.
You got a question in the center? Wait.
Go ahead.
First off, thank you for explaining this. I was fortunate enough to take a class during college that our school offered. I know it made a big difference for me. My question is, I'm sure that you're familiar with Dave Ramsey and his daughter, who does a lot of similar things, travels the country, talks to college students. Can you speak to some of the maybe similarities and differences, if you're familiar, to his financial plan compared to the concepts that are in the book?
Yep. So Behind LearnVest is actually an award-winning platform. We have a free daily newsletter and a huge tool that allows you to actually track your spending on the go. We are Apple's best financial app on every platform. And so I think the big takeaway there is it's not only just let me tell you, it's actually here are all the tools that can allow you to do it and track it, and they're all free. On top of that, we've also created a series of educational content called boot camps that teach you things like how to cut your costs, how to get out of credit card debt, what to do to prepare for a baby. And when I say volumes, I literally mean 25,000 plus articles and 3 stories, and all digital. So one of the really powerful things about what we've done and why we now are one of the fastest growing companies, and we've won literally every award, it's been pretty cool, is that we actually created all the tools to be able to give people access to this for free.
We have time for one more.
This is the brightest I've ever seen. Any other questions?
Great. So maybe there's a finance question that you don't want to ask in front of everyone. So we can do that in the book signing. So Alexa, thank you.
Thank you so much.